Hello there, fellow humans, and today I'm going to review the AMX M4 54 because it is in the shop for 20,000 gold. Now, the bundle already is very questionable because besides the tank and the equipment, there is nothing valuable in here. No, a avatar and a camouflage aren't adding any value because here's the thing. A camouflage, you can get that for 200,000 credits. Now, the only reason why you would want this is because you think it looks cool. The only value a camouflage like this has is because you think it has value. So, 20,000 gold for the tank and the equipment. That's the price we're working with here. Let's have a look at the stats, at the armor, and then let's play it to find out whether the vehicle is actually worth 20,000 gold. Now, the AMX M4 54 was one of the first tier 10 collectors, and ever since it suffered from the same problem, and that's its gigantic size. However, its gun is, well, IS-7 level, with very similar DPM penetration, alpha damage, and even shell velocity somehow is worse than the IS-7. However, the aim time is much better than the IS-7, and also the gun depression is 2 degrees more. So that is a very big advantage right there. However, its DPM, for example, compared to a T95E6, which has less alpha damage, is still not that great. Now, the thing is, in terms of penetration, if you look at all of these, for example, they all have essentially the same penetration, only the VK90 sticks out a little bit. So, here's the thing. You don't need to know the exact numbers of any of these tanks. You don't need to know what the exact aim time is. You just need to know it's good. That's it. Or that the dispersion is not that good, for example. Now, the movement of this vehicle is very much, again, in line with the IS-7, even though it does have a better effective power-to-weight ratio due to its better ground resistance. So, while the power-to-weight ratio is pretty much the same, the effective is a little bit better because the ground resistance on this thing, wider tracks, is quite good. Traverse speed is 30 degrees, which is, again, same. You're never going to notice the difference between 29 and 30 in battle. So, we have very similar values here again. So, the biggest difference is going to be in the size of the vehicle right here. So let's have a look at that. And as you can see, well, it is massive, and that's bad because the bigger you are, the bigger of a target, especially with this absolutely massive turret that has no armor on the sides whatsoever. Now, this is 120 millimeters right here, so you can deflect shells, but even if you turn it like this, that's 20 degrees of rotation, you can get penned straight through. Still, at a 15 degrees of rotation, you're still going to get penned here in the front because it's obviously angled like that. You're going to get penned there anyway. Now, the front of the turret is pretty well armored. It does have 2 cupolas on top. If you use the 8 degrees of gun depression, you can hide the cupola, so that's a very nice thing to do. However, if you are on flat ground and you're going to pretty much poke over any type of cover, be that a train car or walls, this thing is going to stick out from pretty much everything. So those cupolas are a pretty big weak spot because it is absolutely massive. And yeah, the side plates are quite good, but if you turn the vehicle to the side, they become weak pretty quickly, and you have 280 millimeters here, which can be penned by pretty much any premium round in the game. You can side scrape to a certain degree, and you'll see that later as well, so that's very nice, but obviously the problem is this plate right here. If you try to side scrape, then you can get penned by premium ammo, or even some standard ammo at the right angles at this plate right here. So if you try and side scrape, you have to hide this plate right here, and you have to side scrape off the back. Front plate can't be penned pretty much, but the lower plate is a weak spot, as it is on every other tank in the entire game that isn't the Object Tuesday version 4. So, it's big. It's well armored on a turret and the front. However, the sides are very weak. Now let's get into a battle with the AMX M4 54, and I want to talk about something very important here in Blitz that a lot of people don't seem to understand. Stats don't matter as much as people think they do. Right, this vehicle's gun is, as we just saw, very similar to that of the IS-7. The mobility is also within a not that wide margin of most other heavy tanks as well. The armor, good on the turret, it's got cupolas, front plate's good, sides are massive and weak. So, most tanks, because that's how tanks work, are based on the same formula, right? What you need to know is how to use that. For example, that 4005 doesn't know how to use that. Now, I just fired, so I can turn my tank sideways. If you turn your tank sideways, any piece of armor can be made more effective by angling. However, if you play a 4005 and you don't know that you're too tall to hide behind the train, you need to know that, right? But you can make a 30mm plate more effective by angling, and you make a 300mm plate more effective by angling. But what you can't do is understand how it works. Now, I see the 183. He's not looking at me. I'm going to peek the 183. Why the hell would I peek him when he's looking at me? I'm not crazy. And now the type kills him. There we go. And here comes the Sheridan. Look at that. Am I going to peek the Sheridan? Of course I am. Now I'm going to wiggle my tank, right? Because I see the Sheridan drive up. I know, okay, Sheridan is thinking of killing the type. So if I get between them, the type's going to live. I can take a shot at the Sheridan because he's dumb and peeks out sideways. And if I wiggle my tank, which you can do with anything, a mouse or a bat chat, if you wiggle the tank, it's going to be more confusing for the enemy to hit. So just wiggle it. And again, bat chat doesn't pen one of his shots, and now I can run after him. He can't go anywhere because there's 2 tanks on the other side. So he has to go here, and I'm going to drive sideways so he can't escape. And that the type and the SU have shots as well onto him. Because why the hell not? Now I know Batshot's alive, and now the only thing that's still relevant is a WT Panzer IV. And now I've done like 3,000 something damage, and I haven't done anything. Right? The only thing I did is fight the enemy on my terms. It doesn't have anything to do with the tank. I could have just done the exact same thing in a medium, or I could have done the exact same thing in an I7. Not really in a mouse, because the mouse is ass, but that is a lot more important than the raw stats of the vehicle. So don't put too much weight on those numbers, right? If there are big differences, massive difference, like 500, 600 DPM differences, then you can be like, okay, this thing has significantly better DPM. But if the differences are within 1 to 2% or like 100%, 100 difference in DPM or 10 millimeters of penetration, that is fundamentally no performance difference in battle that you're going to actually notice consciously. So you want to focus on how to use the vehicle properly. And in this case, you have 8 degrees of gun depression. You got that generic heavy tank gun with 2-point-something K DPM that is lower than a medium, so you don't want to brawl with mediums because you don't have the DPM for it. You want to go slightly hull down because you can use the 8 degrees of gun depression to hide the massive cupolas, and you have decent enough accuracy to do something like this. Now here again, I'm peeking the IS-7 because I know the 62A is now dead, and the WZ can't peek me without being attacked by my 2 teammates there. And now I know, I saw him drive away. Now he's running away. I'm going to peek him. I have the reload. Boom, take a shot. Am I going to take that shot whether I have 0.3 or 0.5 accuracy? Of course I'm going to take that shot because there is no punishment for it whatsoever because I'm playing safe. Now what I can do, I have an I7 and an E50M. I know I can make this move because there's 2 guys behind me, right? And the E50M, he's probably not going to push forward. Now he got shot twice and now he's going to run. I can see him drive, so I'm immediately going to react. I could pull the adrenaline here, but I know he's not going to get away in time. So now, boom, reload, and he's now dead. Now, I watched the Jagdpanzer. Is the Jagdpanzer looking at me? No, he's not, which means I can now freely move. 2,000 damage already. I've done nothing. So, I can now drive up here. What do I have? We have a VK90, but he's hidden behind this hill right here. We have 2 I7s, but those 2 I7s are being attacked by 2 mediums on the other side, which means at least one of those I7s can't focus on me. So I'm going to drive up, I'm going to bait the shot, because a tank that just fired is the easiest tank to attack, because he's currently useless and has to reload, right? So I'm going to only try to attack tanks that are currently reloading, or tanks that are looking away from me, right? And people don't have a lot of patience, so it's very easy to do that, to get that done. Now, he has 185 hit points here. I don't want to peek that. I'm just going to bait him, and he just fired, which means he can't do anything now. I can take the other I7 and do a lot of extra damage. And now, we have the VK90 here. I'm going to peek over the top. No, he just fired. I know he can't do anything. So I can just take my time and aim at him. That's another very important part about armor, right? You don't need to know the exact armor values because the game shows you anyway. You just need to know, can I pen or can I not pen for your own tank as well. For example, on this vehicle, can you pen the front upper plate? No. Can you pen the front lower plate? Yes. Can you pen the front turret? No. Can you pen the side of the turret and the exploders? Yes, you can. Again, another shot right there. I would take that shot whether I have 0.3 or 0.5 accuracy. It matters a lot more what you do in battle and what the tank stats are. And with that conclusion, this vehicle is not worth 20,000 gold if you already have any other tier 10 collector, heavy tank like a Concept 1B, like a Super Conqueror, I mean even like a Chieftain, even though that has hash, so I wouldn't count that quite as well. But if you have some of those other tanks, you don't need this vehicle because it's not any different. It's just bigger. Plays the same, but it's bigger. So if you want a tank that's just bigger, there you go.